And as you know, it's been 4 years since a winter storm brought deadly cold temperatures to our friends and family in Texas. Millions were left without power for days, and about 246 people ultimately lost their lives in the storm. And since then, companies like Rayburn Electric Cooperative have aimed to reform the power industry in the state of Texas so that tragedies like the one that we saw before can be avoided. President and CEO David Naylor from Rayburn Electric Cooperative joins us now to discuss. David, thanks so much for spending just a few minutes with us here on Fox Weather. Can you bring us back real quick to 4 years ago and what that experience was like for both you and your team?
Certainly. So Rayburn Electric Cooperative, we're a Generation Transmission Cooperative just outside the Dallas area, a wholesale provider for roughly 600,000 Texans. And that time was certainly unprecedented in terms of the cold, the icing, and for us, we were spending some long days and long nights here up here at the office, and folks out in the field to do what we could to ensure the power stayed on.
Yeah, and I can imagine obviously that wasn't Texas's first rodeo when it came to icing events, but what made that one 4 years ago so impactful on the Texas power grid?
So I think what made this one so impactful, because like you said, we've had ice and snow and winter weather before, but this was unprecedented in the sense that the weather predictions, it got a lot colder than what was presented or what was projected, and then it certainly lasted longer than expected. And so it identified some areas where critical loads had slipped through the cracks and were not accounted for in the normal course of business. And so it exacerbated some of the problems that we don't normally have just because of the temps and the duration.
Absolutely. So when you look back at that event and then you look toward the future, knowing, as we mentioned before, that ice storms aren't uncommon to see in parts of Texas, what are some lessons that we've learned that we can kind of carry forward?
Yeah, so here at Rayburn, we took a hard look in the mirror, and some of the things that we did were, one, we doubled the size of our line crews, so we have more people that we can send out. We've expanded the weather analysis that we do to look at what are those extreme cases, and let's be prepared for those. The other thing that we've done, we've added equipment such as bulldozers and track buckets that allow us to get into areas that normally, you just have a regular truck that you get in. So now we can get into those areas easier with better equipment. And then ultimately what we did is we shored up some of our power supply and actually acquired a power plant to ensure that we have the adequate supply to be able to meet these needs.
Yeah. And, last but not least, Dave, just curious. So, do you feel at this point that, say, what happened just a couple of years ago, say if we had an event that had the icing, the cold weather for long periods of time, if that exact event happened again today, do you feel like your team would be prepared?
So we think we would be. There will certainly be some challenges, but as you know, we've had some storms since Winter Storm Uri, Winter Storm Elliott, Winter Storm Heather. Those were pretty significant events as well, not to the level of Winter Storm Uri, but we passed those with flying colors. So we're very optimistic, and we're certainly prepared. Would prefer not to have to test that, but we're ready if it does.
Yeah, what do they say? Preparation is key to prevent poor performance, is what I've heard before. And it sounds like you and your team, taking those lessons that you learned from years past and applying them to the present and to the future will go a long way for our friends and family in Texas. Hey, David Naylor, President and CEO of Rayburn Electric Cooperative, thanks so much for your time with us on Fox Weather. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And happy Valentine's Day to you.